In this video, we will learn how to create an activity diagram. Our diagram will be based on the use case that we've already created. To begin with, while in model structure mode, we will right-click Tommy's Tummy Trucks Analysis and create a new design model, which we will rename and call this one the activity diagrams. We'll add a new diagram and we'll select the activity diagram as the diagram we wish to use. And here we will put the prepare truck as the name of our diagram. Once again, we can choose to add additional information regarding the diagram if we wish. I'm not going to add anything at this time. Click OK, and we have now the opening of an activity diagram. The first thing we want to do is we want to create our swim lanes. So you'll notice down here we have a horizontal swim lane, but we would like the vertical. So if you click the little black arrow in the bottom right-hand corner, it gives us the option for a vertical swim lane. We can now create a vertical swim lane. We can move our partitions to give us some nice spacing. Now, if we right-click inside our partition 2, we can add another vertical partition. Right-click in that and add another vertical partition because we know we have 4 partitions. We have the driver, the sales system, the fill agent, and the inventory. We'll space each of these to give ourselves some room for our diagram. We can always space them to something larger later. Now, if you double-click on the title partition, we're going to name this one the driver. The next one will be the sales system. The reason that I'm choosing this order for the swim lanes is we're looking at this as a sequence of activities. We know that the activity is initiated by the driver, so we put him in the swim lane number 1. The first thing the driver is going to be doing, or one of the first things, is interacting with the sales system, so that becomes swim lane number 2. The next interaction is with the fill agent. And the final interaction is with the inventory system. Now, we start by adding an initial node. We can place a title on this initial node, such as Start. And with the initial node selected, we can see we have the resource catalog appear in the upper right corner. We draw a line down, and when we release our button, we have a few choices of what we want to add here. Well, we're going to add an activity. So we select activity, and we're going to put in here get route. Now, this didn't appear in our use diagram, but what we're trying to do is actually trace how the events occur in this concept of preparing a truck. It doesn't do the driver any good to start preparing his truck or her truck without knowing what the route is. So the first activity that the driver will do will be get route. With Get Route selected, we grab our resource catalog for that, put another arrow down, and we're going to add another activity. This activity will be to request sales. We know that the driver doesn't come in knowing all of the history for every route in the system. Therefore, it's necessary for the driver to obtain that information. Where does the driver get that information? Well, the driver gets that information from the sales system. And we now use the catalog to draw a line into the sales system, and we choose a data store node. The data store node will be sales. We want to select the line, right-click it, and select Open Specifications. And we're going to give a name for this line, which is request. Now, that would be a very simple way of doing it. And you'll find that in many cases, that's exactly what people do. But it's also a good idea to have a little bit more information. So we're, in fact, going to call this a sales request. Again, remember to use underscores instead of blanks so that we don't end up with a confusion in our diagram. Is this one item or two items, or how many other items there are words? Click OK, and we can now see that we have, in fact, our sales request showing here. Select the line and drag it up a little bit by making sure you grab the line, because now we're going to go to the data store and we're going to choose the catalog, and we're going to draw a line back to the request sales. When you draw a line to an object, make sure you extend into the object, which will automatically connect it to that object. And you'll see that it is defaulted by asking us, what do we want to name this one? And it will have the sales response. We can also simply say response. When we click off of it, we see that the lines are somewhat obscured. So if we grab the bottom line and drag them down a little bit, it makes it more readable. Now we'll continue this process by adding activities, having activities interact with either other activities or with data stores. Remember, when you are interacting with a data store, there's always a request and a response. So there are always two lines associated with that particular data store.